This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're recapping how the basketball teams did over the winter break. We also take a look at the life of assistant coaches at Bates, and we preview the alpine skiing season. All that and more coming up on the Bates Bobcast. We've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks due to the winter break here on the Bobcast, so let's catch you up on what's happened recently. The men's basketball program went 3-2 over the break and is riding a 3-game winning streak, including a win over 24th-ranked Babson on New Year's Eve. This past weekend, the men's team was victorious in the Naismith Classic on the campus of Springfield College as they won in dramatic fashion on Saturday over Brandeis. Point guard Sean Strickland hit the game-winning three with 10 seconds left on Saturday, and the Bobcats blew out Husson on Sunday. Strickland earned tournament MVP honors, and senior captain Mike Bornasian was named Maine Co-Player of the Week on Monday by the Maine men's basketball coaches. We caught up with the captain.
All right, Mike, well, first of all, obviously, on a 3-game winning streak right now, including a win in the Naismith Classic most recently over the past weekend. I saw you guys were touring it a little bit, the birthplace of basketball. What was that like for you guys?
It was a great experience. I mean, just to be able to go down to such a historic place and get to see, the roots of the game and actually get the wins and win the actual tournament while we're down there, it was just couldn't ask for a better weekend.
And the game on Saturday was pretty dramatic, right? Tell us how that ended up ending for you guys with the victory there last second.
It was great. I mean, Sean, who's just proven to be a great point guard, I think he's one of the best point guards in the NESCAC, honestly. And he just pulled up, made a huge clutch shot at the buzzer, knocked down a three that we needed, and gave us a win over a great Brandeis team.
Now, you had a good week for yourself, getting named the Maine State Player of the Week there for your performance. What's been working for you recently on the court?
Just being aggressive. I think we're starting to gel just at the right time, and my teammates have done a great job of, knocking down the shots. And I've been getting a lot of assists lately just because these guys everyone's just been playing well. These guys are all stepping into it confidently, and whenever you got good guys around you, then it just helps you to raise your game to a new level.
Going back a little bit, New Year's Eve, you're coming off a couple tough losses against a ranked team. What was the key to getting that victory for you guys specifically?
Well, we knew Babson was a strong program. They always are every year. And we just knew that if we were so close, and even the games that we lost, we'd only been losing by a few points. It's not like we were out here losing bad. So we just said, all right, let's just stick to our principles, just stay solid defensively and run our offense through. And we knew that when we do that, we have the talent to beat anybody.
And the first win in the Naismith Classic, I believe that was the 100th victory for Coach Furbush in his career. And did you guys know that coming in, they would get number 100 with that win there?
No, we didn't know that, and he didn't know that either. Actually, it was one of our assistant coaches, Coach Laprelle, who came in with the game ball, and everyone said, "Oh, Coach, you can't really steal those." And then he talked about how Coach had got his 100th win, and obviously it was an honor to be a part of it, and no one deserves it more than him.
All right, now looking forward, you got the big matchups with Colby and Bowdoin coming up this weekend at home. You've already faced Colby once this year. What did you guys learn from that game?
They're a great ball club, and they are every year. And, anytime you play Bowdoin and Colby, the games are always going to be close. It's just such a rivalry with so much passion behind it. Everyone brings their A game for those types of games. So, I think from seeing them the first time, they don't have anything that we can't handle, and I'm sure that they feel the same way. So it's going to be a great game. We just got to come play the way we have this past week, and hopefully we come out with 2 victories.
Is there a sense of relief that you're finally into the NESCAC schedule now?
Yeah, there is. We have a lot of games that are out of conference leading up to this, and now that we're starting off conference play, and like I said, we're starting to gel at the right time, we're real excited to open it up.
All right, Mike, thanks for the update on the men's basketball program. Looking forward to a great NESCAC schedule here.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Bobcats of the Week return next week. This week on the Bates Bobcast, we are profiling 2 of our assistant coaches to give you insight into the life of an assistant coach at Bates. Sam Horning is the lead assistant coach for the men's basketball team. He is in his second year at Bates after playing 4 years at Nichols College, where he made 100 three-pointers in his career.
You didn't go to school for college in Maine. You went to high school here. But then you came back right after graduation. So what drew you back to Maine and specifically Bates College to become an assistant coach here?
I obviously growing up in Maine, I love the area. I'm a New England guy. So being able to come back to Maine is just a great opportunity for me. In terms of ending up at Bates, It was kind of an interesting story. I worked a camp with Coach Furbush. He has a little youth camp. I asked him to work it. He said, sure. We met, we talked a little bit, stayed in touch, and his assistant left, and I was, right place, right time. But it was just great.
And so what did you know about the program coming in? This is your second year here.
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously, as you just said, this is my second year. The year before I got here last year, they were 1-9 in conference. They really struggled. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, honestly. But I showed up. Got to meet all the guys. All the guys were great. They were really hungry last year. They're really hungry this year. So I've been really fortunate to be around two great teams so far.
And so, as the lead assistant coach for Coach Furbush, what are some of your main responsibilities?
One of the big things, especially in the off season, is the recruiting aspect. I'm on the road a lot every weekend. Seems like there's a AAU tournament or high school or whatever it is. I gotta go on the road, go watch kids, recruit them, see who's gonna fit our program the best. In terms of in season, a lot of scouting, a lot of uploading video cut-ups for our players, video film sessions that we have usually before a game. And it's just making sure all the guys know what we're trying to do as a team going into whatever week that we're going into.
When you're out recruiting, what are you specifically looking for in a player that would make them a good fit for this program?
Number one thing, they just gotta be able to fit with the kids we already have. If we don't think they're gonna be a distraction, we don't want you. We don't care if you're got Division I talent. Obviously, you want to bring that in if you can get it, but at the same time, if he's not gonna fit the locker room, then you can't really bring that in. That's number one. Number two, obviously, since we're an academic school, you got to have the grades. If you don't have, the grades to get in, we're not going to waste our time. We don't want to waste their time or our time. So that's kind of number two. Number three, obviously, the fit. Outside of being a good teammate and being a good, good player, are you a good fit for our program and what we're trying to do for the future? So, you kind of have all that going on in your head as you kind of watch these players play in their games on the weekends.
And when you identify a player on the road that you think would be a great fit for the Bates program, when you talk to them, what do you emphasize about Bates that would make it, to convince them basically they want to at least take a visit perhaps?
Yeah, number one thing, it's really beneficial that we play in the NESCAC. It's one of the best academic conferences in the entire country. So that really, really helps us. That's number one. Number two, it's tough because not a lot of players that we talk to at first know where Maine is on a map, and they're kind of Maine. I don't want to go out to Maine, so you just getting them, like you said, kind of getting onto campus. If we can get them up, usually they have a great time, they enjoy themselves, and that's the number one thing after we watch them play. If we like somebody, getting them up to campus.
Well, they don't know where Maine is on a map. Maybe they're not a great fit academically, but
no, absolutely. But it's really funny. There's some kids that just we say Lewis de Maine, and like I don't know where Lewis de Maine is. I don't. I ran into a kid actually. Was working a camp. He was from Florida, and the only city he knew was Portland. Portland, Maine. That's all that the kids know. So it's kind of funny sometimes with the interactions with that.
So we're heading to the NESCAC season coming up here. You got the big Colby and Bowdoin games coming up for you guys. Based on what you guys have seen so far from the team this year during the non-conference, what are going to be some keys for you guys to turn it into a very successful conference season?
Yeah, you want to be playing your best basketball going into the NESCAC. And the guys, we've had a couple slip-ups early. Had a tough loss at Colby. That was a killer. Had a tough loss at home against Southern Vermont and WPI, but the guys have really responded. We won 3 straight. The best thing I think is that we've already played Colby, so we kind of know what they're gonna bring to the table. Bowdoin's gonna be an interesting matchup. We'll gotta watch some film and get a good scouting report for them. But I think if we just play our game and play together, we've done a great job moving the basketball on offense and talking on defense and being active. If we keep that up, I think we're going to be in a great spot, and hopefully we get these first 2.
What's life like kind of as an assistant coach? Like, give the fans an idea of what maybe your routine is. Is it a lot of long hours, I assume?
No, absolutely. It's a little different from the off season to in season. So In season, you wake up, sometimes it depends on the day, but sometimes you wake up earlier than others. You get to the office 8:30, 9 a.m. Kind of first thing. So this week we got Bowden Colby. So right now I'm just kind of on my computer. I already got kind of Colby and Bowden up, just watching film for the next couple of days, trying to just work on the scouting report. We'll talk to John about what we're trying to do for that. Just a lot of video scouting report. Just that's mostly what we do during the week, during the season. We also have players come in for individual workouts, and we'll work the players out. So it's usually I would say a little easier schedule, where it's kind of more of a 9 to 5 or 6 day, although you're never really out of the office, because even when you go home, I'm always on my computer doing something relating to what we're trying to do. In the off season, it's completely different. I'm on the road, as I mentioned, doing a lot of recruiting. So some weekends I leave the house at 6 a.m. I'm not getting back till 11:30 p.m. It's a long day. It's a grind, but you know what? That's what I love about it. I love the recruiting aspect, because you're on the road. You get to meet a bunch of other coaches. Make connections. So the off season can be a grind. It's all a grind in general, but you just gotta enjoy the ride.
Coming out of school, did you know you wanted to be a coach?
Yeah, actually, going into my freshman year of college, I wanted to be a coach, and then I kind of bounced around a little bit my senior year. I didn't want to sit in an office 9 to 5 and do an accounting or sports marketing or whatever. So I had to get into coaching one way or another.
All right, great. Well, good luck the rest of the season, and thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Rebecca Pope is the assistant coach for the women's basketball team. She was a junior college All-American and a member of one of the most legendary programs in the history of basketball.
Talking about what it means to be an assistant coach here at Bates. And Rebecca, first of all, before you talk about your job as assistant here, you had a unique experience back in 2012 and 2013. You got to spend a year on the roster for the UConn Huskies, who ended up winning the national title that year. Didn't play in a game, but you were able to watch the home games, watch Gio Auriemma up close. What did you learn from that experience?
I learned a lot about mental toughness and just really what it means to be a college player and to play at that level. There was really no excuses, and it was unbelievable to watch, just the fast pace, and I really, I can't begin to tell you how much I learned.
And then in terms of, you're now into coaching, anything you're taking away from Gino there?
Yeah, again, with the no excuses and the theme, the mental toughness, and just, watching, I didn't really have a full comprehension of executing plays in basketball until I was sidelined and was able to watch, and then my knowledge just 10 times increased.
So this is your first job now out of college. You applied for it over the summer. You got it. What was the interview process like and to land this job?
It wasn't too intense. I know Allison was really she was moving from Annapolis and having a baby, and I think it was just really lucky that I happened to come in while she moved to Maine while she was looking, and we just connected, and I drove up here, interviewed with her, and we hit it off, and we had similar views and styles, and so I think it's working out.
Looking back, what was your first day on the job like?
First day of practice, it's tough. You don't really know what to say, and you're kind of, you've been in I was in the player's shoes, for a long time, and it's definitely, what do I say here? You think something and you can't say it fast enough, but I think about 2 weeks in, really, you started to feel like a coach and not a player anymore.
And then what are your primary responsibilities as an assistant coach here?
Basically, I'm responsible for film. I collect scouting film, and I'll put it up on our website to break it down, and I get all our games, put them on, and then meals. I plan our meals for our away trips, just really medial tasks, but also assisting Allison and coaching.
And so in terms of interacting with the players, what are some of the things you've been working with them on?
I really enjoy doing one-on-one workouts with them. I think I get about more time to talk to them and adjust little things. And
what are some of the challenges in learning how to recruit? I mean, you never had to recruit when you were a player, obviously.
No, there's definitely challenges. You go to a showcase and you see a couple of kids, you get really excited, and you reach out and you find out they're going Division I. So I definitely had to adjust my eye to pick out the Division III kid. That was the biggest challenge.
How much fun are you having right now in this first job here?
Oh, I'm having a great time. Joke kind of with other people in their 9 to 5 office jobs that I come in the morning, do work. I'll play noontime hoops with like the men's assistant, some other guys, and then you get to eat in the dining halls. It's kind of like just a little extension of college, but still working.
Yeah, and now you're from New England, but how much time had you spent in Maine before getting this job?
I moved to Maine in April, and that was honestly the second time I'd been to Maine, so not too much actually.
Have you talked to other assistant coaches on campus, whether it be men's basketball or other sports, about any advice they have or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, the men's coach Sam Horning has been so helpful. Every day I come to him with a question that I feel a little stupid asking, but he's been great, and he's actually given me so much advice.
Yeah, I talked to Sam earlier, and he's got similar responsibilities with video and recruiting and whatnot, right?
Yeah, he has. Pretty much, we're doing the same thing, so it's great that he's been here and around the block, and he helps me so much.
Now, during the actual game, obviously Allison's the one, standing up and talking to the players and the refs and whatnot. What are you doing during the game?
I keep stats that we don't necessarily get on a box score. So I'm responsible for that, fouls, timeout, keep our number of timeouts, make sure we're not getting it technical. And then occasionally I say things to players if they come off and Allison's in the moment and doesn't get a chance to, but a lot of stat keeping.
How do you enjoy the lifestyle of an assistant coach? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of long hours and traveling and whatnot.
Yeah, it's been a lot, especially come November 1st when it's a real shift of only being here, a couple days a week and then doing some other things at home to being here 6-7 days a week, long hours. But it's been tough, but at the same time, you only do it for 4 months out of the year, so just wake up in the morning and no excuses.
Exactly right. NESCAC season coming up. What are some points of emphasis right now in practice?
Just get better every day and just compete every day. Sometimes we come in and we're a little slow, but lately it's been, we're competing hard, and I think that our record doesn't necessarily say much about how good we are. So I'm excited to see them play in the NESCAC.
All right, Rebecca, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Some more winter sports are getting started in January. This week we take a look at the alpine skiing program. They get their start at 9 a.m. on Friday, January 15 in the Bates Carnival at Sunday River. This 2-day event will feature colleges from all over the Northeast, and we caught up with head coach Rogan Cannell to preview the season.
Joined here on the Bates Bobcast by Rogan Cannell, the head coach of both the men's and women's alpine skiing programs here at Bates, and they've got their Bates Carnival coming up, not this week, but the following weekend, so the skiing season right around the corner. But Rogan, there hasn't been a whole lot of snow. How could that possibly impact the first event here coming up?
Actually, we've been pretty lucky that we have Sunday River, so we've had really good training since right after Thanksgiving. We also had a good training camp in Colorado the week of Thanksgiving. So we're one of the lucky programs to actually have quality training, pretty much since the middle of November here. So for us, might actually be a little bit of an advantage.
And the men's team, obviously very young this year, a lot of first year. So what have you noticed so far in practice from some of the youngsters?
Well, not only some of our early training, but we've had a lot of early FIS races, which are the international races. We've had probably 8 or 9 starts for most of the guys at this point. And it's a strong freshman group for sure. Definitely our best skier is our senior, Chris Bradbury, but our freshmen are all skiing right there with him, not only in training but in races. I'm actually expecting a lot from this younger group. They've had a lot of success coming into school prior to this, at all levels. Michael Cooper was named to the national training group for this winter, so he was doing a lot of camps with them over the summer. And most of these guys have had a lot of skiing in their preparation period, whether in South America or New Zealand, over the past summer, and so we've had a pretty good amount on snow time.
How much of a measuring stick for both teams is the Bates Carnival in terms of the competition you're up against?
It's all the carnivals basically have the same field, but it's the first race that we'll be at where all of the schools are together. So that's it's a pretty good indicator of where we're at this point in the season. And then the carnival season moves along pretty quickly. It's really 6 weekends over a course of 7 weeks. So we're just trying to do as much as we can right now to be as prepared as possible for the first week and take advantage of being on our home hill.
Now let's talk about the women's team. Oh, no seniors on the women's team, but you have a junior who went to NCAAs last year, right?
Yeah, Kelsey definitely has consistently been our strongest skier. She qualified for NCAAs last year after missing most of her freshman year with mono, so that was huge for her. She's continued to ski really well early season, has had some podiums in some of the early season FIS races, which has been great. And, the rest of our group, the three sophomores and one of our freshman women has been pretty close behind her. Unfortunately, with the weather we've had this year, we haven't had a lot of we haven't really had any giant slalom starts. It's mostly been slalom races at this point. So we're actually heading up to Quebec this weekend for a 4-day series, and we'll see where we're at with our GS skiing. But we should be pretty well along at this point, given that we've had better training than anybody else at this point in the season.
You got to go all the way up to Canada then, I guess.
That's kind of the nature of skiing. We do race all over the place, so we do travel quite a bit, and just part of it has to do with the way the FIS races are scheduled regionally and everything, and the women are actually racing in Quebec quite a bit this year.
Now, just like a couple of other winter sports coaches, you coach both the men's and the women's team. So what are the similarities? What are the differences? Is it basically the same?
It's basically the same. For the last couple of years, our women's team has definitely been stronger. So, a little bit of difference there. But I think, with the addition of a bunch of our freshman men, it's pretty similar. They all tend to have common goals, of trying to get to NCAAs and also, skiing other high-level races like U.S. National Championships and going to NORAMs. And, some of them definitely have goals of making the U.S. ski team at some point. So
now, I'm sure we'll have a lot of diehard alpine skiing fans listening to the podcast. But for those who are not diehard alpine skiing fans who are learning about the sport right now, explain the two events that you guys do and the similarities and differences.
At the college level, we're competing in slalom and giant slalom or GS. Slalom, short turns. Generally gates about 10 meters apart. Definitely shorter vertical drop for the hill. Giant slalom, definitely bigger turns. Usually about 25 to 28 meters distance between gates. So beyond that, other than being on snow, not a lot of similarities between the two events. It's definitely, most people, are usually pretty even in how they ski both events, at the quality, but you definitely at times have people that are slalom specialists or GS specialists, which isn't always helpful in college races since the scoring for team scoring is both GS and slalom, but ideally you have people that are strong in both. But technically there's not a lot of similarities between the two at this point.
How much interaction is there between the alpine skiing teams and the Nordic skiing teams? I know they're different events, but they're both on the snow.
Probably a lot of the interaction happens in the fall. They do try to get together when they're doing their fall workouts to try to usually Friday's game day when they're working out, and so they'll play speedball, which is a soccer type game. And obviously being on a smaller campus too, they all know each other, and then really the carnivals are really the first time that or even a lot of times even together in the same place, and depending on snow years, they might not be in the same place just because of available snow for the Nordic sites. So it really can vary a lot. It's two very different sports that really only related by the fact that they have skis on their feet. But that's always been the tradition that it's alpine and Nordic together, and probably the greatest interaction between the two really happens at the NCAA championships, because it's the only time during the year where our collegiate events aren't on the same days, so they actually get an opportunity to go watch the other discipline race, which is nice. Yeah.
Now, as the coach, when you're out there practicing, are you on skis too? How do you do that?
When I'm on the hill, I'm on skis, but basically, in the morning, we're getting on the hill and getting the course set, and then we're in one of probably a couple spots on the hill where we can see most of the course. And then we're in communication with them by radio, and we're on the hill videoing and just doing course maintenance, making sure that we've got a good training environment and that it's the surface is good and gates are staying in, and just making it the most productive session that we can.
Last question for you. What are you most excited about for the upcoming season for both the men and the women?
really excited about it. I mean, I think our freshman group of men, and this is definitely one of the strongest group of men we've had in probably 7 or 8 years. They are still young, and it does take a little bit of an adjustment for them to really be competitive at this level, but based on what I've seen so far, I think there's a few of them that are going to make that jump pretty quickly. And it'll be nice to have that depth on our men's team. We've kind of, the last couple of years, been relying on 1 or 2 really strong skiers on the men's side, whereas we've had 5 or 6 really strong women for the past probably 8 to 10 years. And, it'll be nice to really be competitive on both sides. And hopefully, we've got people that can qualify for NCAAs, so hopefully it'd be nice to get at least 2 men and 2 women, and, there's definitely a chance to get a full team if things go right.
All right, Rogan, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Next week on the Bates Bobcast, we will recap a very busy squash weekend. They play a total of 6 matches, all of them at the Bates Squash Center. It's rivalry weekend for the men's and women's basketball programs as they take on Colby on Friday and Bowdoin on Saturday to start the NESCAC season. The men are at home and play at 7 o'clock on Friday and 3 o'clock on Saturday, while the women are on the road. The swimming and diving program has a dual meet with Middlebury on Sunday at 11 a.m. Needless to say, the new year is off to a busy start, and we'll discuss it all next time on the Bates Bobcast.
Bates, Bates.